Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. Um, this video is going to be all over the place. I'm warning you guys from now. This is one of my public service announcements. As you guys can tell from the title, it's PSA, do your work. And as I get a little bit further into this video, you guys are going to know what I mean by that. But I just want to start with a little bit of background. This video was really inspired by a report that came out today, which I have here in front of me. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, just released its Ferguson investigation, and what they found is horrifying. The Department of Justice released Wednesday its long-anticipated civil rights investigation into the Ferguson Police Department, revealing a pattern of racial bias and targeted abuse of the Missouri city's minority population. So basically, as we all know, the Department of Justice has been, looking into Ferguson to kind of figure out what's going on there. You've also have had tons of private citizens that are, filing lawsuits, and they're filing complaints against the city, and they're saying what we all know, which is that the police department there is fucking racist, and that they're targeting the black people, they're targeting the minority population. They're using them to pretty much fund the city through fines and, all different types of things. They have some of the highlight. I'm on mic.com. They have some of the highlights of the probe here. Oh, no. Please don't freeze up, computer. Don't freeze up on me. Here we go. 14 people were recently bitten by Ferguson police dogs. All victims were black. They said police engage in a pattern of deploying canines to bite individuals when the cops, can't justify the significant use of force. So they have the dogs fucking bite people. The city is dependent on cash from petty fines for a large part of its revenue. It uses the police department as a kind of collection agency, so basically you don't pay a parking ticket, or you don't pay a fine for something. They come fucking hunt your ass down, they find you, they throw you in jail, they fucking charge you, an even bigger fine, and then you can't get out of jail until you pay it. And they have these practices going on there where they're basically, they have these people in another form of slavery, basically. What else? One officer pointed a gun at a black man sitting in a car, then charged him for saying his name was Mike instead of Michael. Asked him what's his name. He said, "Oh, my name is Mike." They take out his license. They say, "No, your name is Michael. You falsely identify yourself." They arrested him. I'm trying to find the numbers. There was a statistic that I wanted to tell you guys that now I cannot see it. The statistic that I saw was on the Washington Post article, which I'm going to get to. I don't want to open it, but it looks like I might have to. The stat was it said something like, even though, am I back? Okay, I'm back. The stats said something like, despite only making up 67% of the population of Ferguson, black people make up 93% of the arrests, and they account for 97% of the city's annual fucking revenue, that comes from the police department. So basically the police are racist, and they are unfairly targeting black people and minorities. So the Department of Justice, they declined to indict Darren Wilson for the murder of Mike Brown, but basically what they're saying is, we didn't have, quote-unquote, enough evidence to indict Darren Wilson. But pretty much the reason behind that is because the whole entire police department is fucking crooked from top to bottom. We can't indict just this one person because we have a whole corrupt system that is in place that is protecting him. They make evidence disappear. One of the things that also said in the probe is that, evidence disappears there, and, people are covering up for one another, and tickets and citations for white people magically disappear. So I'm on the Washington Post article. Mic.com does not allow commenting, which is one of the reasons why I frequent their site. The Washington Post does. So I'm reading a Washington Post article, and I get to the bottom and I get to the comments, and the comments are just disgusting. The comments are really insane. You know, you have white people that are in the comments section that are saying like, oh, well, you know, how do we know that these statistics aren't skewed? You know, oh, so black people only make up 67% of the population, but they account for 93% of the arrests. Well, maybe that, what are the ages? What is the age group? You know, because young people between the ages of 20 and 40 are more likely to be arrested in general. So if Ferguson has a large youth, you know, young black population, then maybe that's why more black people are being arrested, because they're just arresting more young people. You know, why does it have to be about race? You know, and they're just like digging deep in the pockets of delusion to come up with all these reasons as to why, you know, the Department of Justice is wrong, why this probe is wrong, how this is somehow actually racist against white people, you know. And I'm reading the comments and I'm just like I said in my Empire video yesterday, white people do not live in reality, period. And I feel like I've been getting all these signs and signals from the universe and things that have just been coming my way that I've been learning about that have really just been reinforcing this idea that white people are just delusional. They're delusional. They do not live in reality. On part 3 of my That's Not Racist rant video, a commenter left a wonderful comment that, you know, you changed my life. You props to you, because you changed my life. Someone left a comment because I was talking in that video about, you know, what did the effects of slavery and what do the effects of racism have on white people. We always talk about, you know, what these effects had on black people, but what, you know, how does this affect white people being the dominant group and being the oppressor? Somebody left a comment that said, oh, have you heard of Dr. Joy DeGruy? She's, you know, a black professor, a black lecturer. She's a sociologist, and she has a whole series of lectures on, you know, this topic, and the lecture is called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. It's on YouTube. You should go watch it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to go watch it. I go watch it, and when I tell you this woman's lecture has pretty much changed my life, this woman's lecture has pretty much changed my fucking life. Like, I want to make a video on it, but I have, like, pages and pages and pages and pages of notes that I'm still working through and processing. Basically, what her whole theory, what Joy DeGruy's theory is about post-traumatic slave syndrome, it all revolves around cognitive dissonance. And basically, the concept that white people literally have to remove themselves from reality to deal with what they have done and what they still do to black people. And basically, you know, it's I say all the time, white privilege is a hell of a drug, and white people live in a bubble, and white people are delusional. But Joy DeGruy is like really like, she has like an academic theory, post-traumatic, you know, slave syndrome for both blacks and whites, that talks about this cognitive dissonance and how white people have to literally make shit up. So I'm sitting in this Washington Post article and I'm like, white people really have to make shit up. Here you have an 18-point, 100-page long report telling you in black and white, smacking you in the face with facts, that this police force is racist and is targeting black people. You as a white person, your sense of cognitive dissonance is making you need to literally make up and create reasons as to why this all-white police force would do that, so that you don't have to deal with racism, right? Because then, you know, what, it's almost like where people will like go crazy. You know, it's like how when people are dealing with a lot of psychological stress and they like fracture and they like get split personalities and things like that because they just like can't handle it. They just like can't handle the psychological stress. It's like white people cannot handle the psychological stress of the oppression that they're inflicting on other people. So they come up with this cognitive dissonance to remove themselves from it. And she goes over tons of amazing points in her lecture, you know, of just all these different theories and concepts and things that white people make up and things that they do to remove themselves. You know, back in slavery time, it was like, Negroes can't feel pain, they can't feel empathy, they don't have souls, they're animals, they're not human beings. They had to find a way to make what they were doing by enslaving other human beings reasonable. So they had to create this cognitive dissonance, and they had to come up with all these reasons as to why we black people deserved it. And they're still doing it now. They're still doing it now. Like, my mind is like blown. Like, they're literally still doing it now. Every time you have a conversation with a white person and they're like, well, but, Tamir Rice shouldn't have been playing with the gun, or, well, Eric Garner shouldn't have been selling the loose cigarettes. Things that sound completely insane, and just astronomically far-fetched, is because they're creating dissonance. They're creating cognitive dissonance so they can distance themselves, so they don't have to deal with the psychological pressure of racism and of oppressing other people, because then they have to fucking look in the mirror and fucking try to fall asleep at night knowing that they're oppressing people. So they have to create this dissonance. And I recently had a post. It's crazy because I uploaded this post like literally 6 months ago on Tumblr, and all of a sudden this post went viral. Over the last, it's literally been up for 6 months, but over the last day it got 3,000 views. And it's on white fragility. This concept of white fragility, which kind of walks hand in hand with cognitive dissonance, which is Joy DeGruy's theory. Robin DiAngelo, who's another social scientist, has a different name for it. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's called white fragility. So I'm just going to read you guys the intro to this paper on this theory, and of course I will post links so you guys can read it for yourselves. White fragility. White people in North America live in a social environment that protects and insulates them from race-based stress. This insulated environment of racial protection builds white expectations for racial comfort, while at the same time lowering their ability to tolerate racial stress, leading to what I refer to as white fragility. So basically, white people live in a bubble. White privilege is a hell of a drug. They live in a delusional world where they do not, have to deal with race-based stress. They're protected and they're insulated from it through dissonance, cognitive dissonance. We're linking these theories. These synopses are fire, and we're moving and grooving. Here we go. So, white fragility is a state in which even a minimum amount of racial stress becomes intolerable, triggering a range of defensive moves. These moves include the outward display of emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and behaviors such as argumentation, silence, and leaving the stress-inducing situation. These behaviors, in turn, function to reinstate white racial equilibrium. This paper explicates the dynamics of white fragility. So basically, like I said, we're talking about dissonance. So you have white people that are living in a society, in a whole system that uses dissonance to protect and insulate them from race-based stress, from stressors, from oppression. And ever since Ferguson, we've kind of moved race to the forefront of this national conversation, and you have white people that cannot fucking handle it. They can't fucking handle it. This is why you have all these people that get so inexplicably angry that want to lash out. It's not about race, colorblind society, and blah, 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 you're the real racist, I don't want to hear it, they cannot deal, they can't fucking handle it, right? They are suffering through, psychological breaks, like I said, fractures. They have to create this dissonance. Otherwise, they have to fucking look at this Department of Justice probe and say, oh my God, those protesters were right. Oh my God, we are living in a police state where you can kill a black person and get away with it. Oh my God, how am I gonna sleep at night? So instead, they retreat into this bubble of dissonance, and they continue to reinforce this white fragility. And then you have these people that, well, I just want to learn, I just want to understand, you're so mean, why can't you talk nice to me? That's that white fragility. They can't fucking handle it, right? And this has been going on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, from slavery right up until now, 2015. You have white people that are still doing the same thing, that are still making the same excuses, that are still creating dissonance, that are still perpetuating the cycle of white fragility, where they are protected and insulated from race-based stress. 200 years ago, it was by, creating drapetomania and saying, slaves that run away, there's something wrong with them. They have a disease where they have an uncontrollable urge to run away from slavery because they don't want to deal with the fact that we are fucking enslaving people and they want to be free. So they're running away. No, they had to create dissonance by making up a fake-ass disease called drapetomania. Now you have a report that comes out saying an entire police force is racist and is targeting black people. But instead of having to actually deal with that and work on solutions to dismantle white supremacy and to dismantle white privilege, they have to create dissonance. So now you're getting into, well, are these statistics skewed? What were the ages that was involved? Because everyone knows that young people commit more crimes. Everyone knows that those young niggers commit more crimes. Okay, so what exactly was the the ratio of these statistics? It's all about dissonance and creating dissonance and protecting white fragility and perpetuating cycles and systems of racism and white supremacy. Which brings me to my main point. 16 minutes in. PSA. Do your work. Black people. Other minorities, y'all can listen to this too if you want, but I'm speaking specifically to black people. Do your work. Whatever your work is, do your work. If your work is, watching my videos and spreading knowledge, do that. If your work is creating your own videos, creating your own content, creating your own art, doing whatever you're doing in school, doing whatever you're doing at your job, do your work. Because you are not ever going to change the minds of white people that are experiencing dissonance and that are retreating into their bubble to protect their white fragility. Like I just said, this has been going on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, I have people that leave me comments all the time that say, well, maybe if you talked a little nicer and stopped cursing and did this and did that, you would be able to reach more white people. I'm not making videos for white people. I'm not talking to white people. I don't care about white people. I'm trying to do my work, which is encouraging dialogue between black people. Okay, encouraging dialogue between black women, encouraging dialogue between minorities to recognize, hey, we're living in a motherfucking white supremacist capitalist ass society and we need to fucking get our shit together. I don't give a fuck about what no white person is doing. I'm trying to get my shit together. I'm trying to do my work. Okay? I don't have time. And I fucking got this from Joy DeGrae's video. Please go watch her video. I don't have time to try to fucking convince white people that centuries and centuries and centuries of dissonance are what is informing their mind. Like, I don't have time. This is not fucking Inception. This is not the Matrix. I'm not handing out fucking blue pills and red pills to white people to get them to wake up. If they wake up after watching one of my videos, that's great. But my videos are about doing my work within the black community. And a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, because I have the post here in front of me, I put it on Instagram, I listened to this really amazing lecture given by Toni Morrison at Portland State in 1975, and it's still 100% relevant to this day. I'll post a link to that as well so you guys can listen to it. It's not that long. It's really good. Where she basically says the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again why you are here. Somebody says you don't have any language, so you spend 20 years proving you do. Somebody says you don't have any culture, so you dredge that up. None of that is necessary. There will always be one more thing. Dissonance. Complete your work without worry. Do not be confused. Don't waste your energy fighting the fever. You must only fight the disease. And I urge you to be careful, for there is a deadly prison. The prison that is erected when one spends their life fighting phantoms, concentrating on myths, and explaining over and over again to the conqueror. Your language, your lifestyle, your culture, your habits, and you don't have to do it anymore. Whoever's watching in the back, you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to dwell on changing the minds of racists. Racial ignorance is a prison from which there is no escape because there are no doors. And there are old men and old women who need to believe in their racism and need you to focus all your energy on them. They thrive on it. They are in prisons of their own construction, but you must know the truth that you are free. Toni Morrison, brilliant, a fucking genius, okay? And these really are the words that you guys have to live by, that I'm trying to live by as I try to move forward in life doing my work. Because dissonance is a way of life at this point for white people, and you can't fight dissonance. All you can do is your work. I've gotten so into social media ever since you guys kept asking me to make an Instagram, so I made an Instagram page. And now I follow so many amazing, brilliant people. Black creatives, artists, painters, dancers, musicians, writers, people that are doing amazing things, wonderful things. They are doing their work. Okay? They're not worried about dissonance. They're not worried about, trying to prove anything to white people because they have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove to any of these white people out here. Nothing. Do your work. This has been a public service announcement. Peace.